Chapter 9. Educational Divide, Equity, Technology, and the Future of Learning. 9.1 Analyzing the American Education System. 9.2 Bridging the Digital Divide in Education. 9.3 The Debate Around School Choice. 9.4 College Access and the Debt Crisis. 9.5 Inclusive Education, Challenges and Opportunities. 9.6 Educational Policy, Shaping the Future. 9.7 Learning from Global Educational Models. 9.8 Revolutionizing Pedagogy with Technology. 9.9 Parental and Community Involvement in Schools. 9.10 Preparing the Next Generation for an Uncertain Future. 9.1 Analyzing the American Education System. The American education system has evolved into a complex network of public and private institutions serving millions of students annually. Characterized by a decentralized structure, it features a significant degree of local control, with responsibilities divided among federal, state, and local authorities. Historically, this system aimed to provide universal access to education, a cornerstone of the belief that education is a vital tool for individual success and the advancement of society. However, scrutiny reveals disparities that have persisted and in some cases widened over time. These disparities often mirror broader societal divides in socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity, and geography, and their impact on educational outcomes is profound. One of the central challenges facing the American education system is achieving equity. Equity in education refers not only to equal access to schooling, but also to the provision of conditions in which all students, regardless of their background, have the opportunity to succeed. This goal is made complex by the varied starting points of students, which are heavily influenced by external factors such as income inequality, historical marginalization, and access to resources. Therefore, strategies aimed at enhancing equity often require adaptive policies and practices that can address inherent unequal starting points among diverse student populations. The push for educational equity encompasses a wide array of initiatives, from the redistribution of educational resources to the inclusivity of curricula. Resource redistribution frequently manifests in efforts to ensure all schools receive adequate funding. The reality, however, is that school financing heavily depends on local property taxes, thereby linking educational quality to community wealth. Schools in affluent neighborhoods often benefit from more funding, smaller class sizes, and better facilities, whereas those in poorer areas struggle to meet basic needs. This system essentially reinforces existing economic disparities and compromises the principle of equal opportunity upon which the educational system was founded. The implementation of balanced and inclusive curricula is another avenue pursued to enhance equity. It is recognized that a curriculum which incorporates diverse perspectives and respects all backgrounds can help mitigate potential biases that have historically existed within educational content. A comprehensive curriculum is intended to give all students the ability to see themselves in the subjects they study, thereby fostering a sense of belonging and promoting a more equitable learning environment. Yet, shaping such curricula often sparks controversy, as different stakeholders dispute what constitutes balanced representation and appropriate subject matter for various age groups. The reliance on standardized testing as a measure of student performance and school effectiveness has also garnered attention in discussions on educational equity. Critics argue that these tests often fail to capture the nuance of learning and serve to entrench inequalities by focusing on narrow skill sets, which might disadvantage students from varying backgrounds. Supporters counter that standardized testing provides a common yardstick by which to measure and improve educational outcomes. The increased stress on test results has led to an environment where teaching to the test is not uncommon, potentially stifling creative teaching methods and a broader educational experience. Technology's place in the American educational landscape brings both opportunity and challenge. The proliferation of personal computing devices and the Internet has prompted a shift in how educators approach teaching and how students engage with learning. Through technology, resources and information can be accessed instantly, and educational experiences can be personalized to a student's pace and style of learning. However, the digital divide, a term denoting the gap between those who have ready access to computers and the internet and those who do not, can exacerbate existing educational inequalities. Students lacking access to technology are at a distinct disadvantage in an increasingly digital learning environment. The importance of teacher quality in student success cannot be overstated. Effective educators are paramount to fostering an interactive and nurturing learning experience, yet, disparities in teacher distribution are well documented. High-achieving teachers are unevenly spread across schools, often concentrated in more affluent areas. Meanwhile, schools in low-income or rural districts are more likely to have teachers who are inexperienced or teaching out of their certified content areas. Efforts to recruit, train, and retain high-quality teachers in underserved areas remain an ongoing challenge. The push for school choice has introduced new dynamics into the educational equity conversation. School choice policies, including public charter schools and voucher programs, aim to allow families to select the schools their children attend, rather than being assigned a school based on geographic location. Proponents of school choice argue that it fosters competition and gives parents the power to select the best educational environments for their children. Opponents, however, worry that such policies may divert funds from public schools and lead to a segregated education system, where the most advantaged families are able to leverage these options more effectively than disadvantaged ones. Another crucial aspect of the education system is the role of standardized curricula, particularly the Common Core State Standards, CCSS. Adopted by many states, CCSS aims to provide a clear, consistent understanding of what students are expected to learn. While supporters see CCSS as a way to ensure all students, no matter where they live, receive a quality education, critics argue it can inhibit teacher autonomy and the ability to cater to local needs. Furthermore, there is debate over how these standards are to be implemented and assessed, which influences the equity of educational opportunities. The issue of school safety has also become a focal point in discussions about the American education system. Instances of violence, including school shootings, have prompted a national debate about how to create secure learning environments without creating a climate of fear. This discussion encompasses not only physical safety, but also concerns around bullying and the mental well-being of students. Ensuring students feel safe is integral to their ability to participate fully in the educational process, and schools are central in efforts to foster safe, welcoming environments. The challenge of accommodating students with different needs, such as those requiring special education services or English language learners, ELs, further illustrates the complexity of achieving educational equity. Federal law mandates that students with disabilities receive a free appropriate public education, often necessitating individualized education plans, IEPs, and various forms of support. ELs also require specialized instruction to ensure they can both learn English effectively and master subject matter content. Meeting the needs of these diverse learners requires resources, well-trained educators, and ongoing assessments to monitor progress. 9.2 Bridging the digital divide in education. The term digital divide refers to the gap between demographics in regions that have access to modern information and communication technology, and those that don't or have restricted access. This gap exists for several reasons, which include economic, structural, and societal barriers. In the context of education, the digital divide can greatly affect students' access to learning materials, quality of education, and their preparedness for a workforce that increasingly relies on digital literacy. Bridging this divide is a multifaceted challenge that requires coordinated efforts across educational institutions, government entities, industry leaders, and communities. One of the foundational steps to bridge the digital divide in education is ensuring access to high-speed internet. Internet connectivity has become a critical utility, similar to electricity and water. Aspects of modern learning, such as online research, digital textbooks, and interactive education platforms, rely on students being connected. Equitable internet access is not universally available, with a significant disparity between urban, suburban, and rural areas. To address this, policies that prioritize infrastructure development in underserved communities are being explored, alongside subsidies for low-income households to afford high-speed internet services. Equipping students with technology is another crucial aspect. Schools in affluent areas often provide their students with tablets or laptops, but in underfunded schools, students may not have this luxury. Government and educational institutions are examining ways to offer grants or funded programs to alleviate the technological gaps. However, merely providing devices is insufficient without corresponding support to ensure their effective use. Adequacy of equipment, such as having up-to-date software and hardware that can handle modern educational applications, is also essential to consider. Training and supporting educators in the use of technology in the classroom is paramount. Teachers play a critical role in integrating technology into their curriculum. Professional development programs must equip educators with the skills to utilize digital tools effectively. It is not only about gaining proficiency in software or devices, but also about understanding how to adapt teaching methods to leverage the strengths of digital education. Educators should be prepared to guide students through technology-enhanced learning experiences that can cater to individual learning styles and needs. Improving digital literacy among students is an end goal of introducing technology in the classroom. Digital literacy goes beyond the ability to use technology. It includes the skills to evaluate, utilize, and communicate information in digital formats. Students not only need to know how to navigate devices and software, but also to discern the credibility of online resources, understand digital etiquette, and protect their privacy. Comprehensive digital literacy curricula need to be developed to prepare students not only for their future workplace, but also for responsible digital citizenship. Parental and community engagement is a critical but sometimes overlooked component of educational equity. Many parents may lack the digital skills needed to support their children's learning. Community supports through libraries, after-school programs, and local educational workshops can provide avenues for both students and parents to improve their digital skills. Creating an environment where learning can continue outside of school hours and traditional settings supports a culture of lifelong learning and engagement with technology. Assessing the effectiveness and efficiency of digital education initiatives is important for continuous improvement. Data collection and analysis can help identify which areas or methods are yielding positive results and where adjustments need to be made. Evaluation mechanisms should be established to regularly assess the impact of technology integration in schools. This can include student performance metrics, feedback from teachers and students, and an analysis of how technology is influencing learning outcomes. Considering accessibility and inclusivity is essential in any attempt to bridge the digital divide. Students with disabilities or those who require special accommodations should not be marginalized by technology, but instead benefit from its potential to make learning more accessible. Adaptive technologies can tailor learning experiences to different abilities, but investment is required to make these resources widely available and integrate them seamlessly into the educational ecosystem. Involving technology companies and non-profit organizations as partners can be a powerful way to bridge the digital divide. Many technology companies have vested interests in cultivating a digitally literate future workforce and may offer resources, funding, or partnerships to schools and districts. Nonprofit entities can also provide valuable support, filling gaps that may not be addressed sufficiently by public initiatives. Such collaborations can amplify the effects of individual efforts and foster innovative solutions to the digital divide. Long-term investment and planning from government bodies are needed for sustainable progress in this area. Quick fixes such as temporary access points or short-term device loans cannot replace the need for a coherent strategy that aims at long-term educational equity. This requires not only investment in physical infrastructure, but also in human capital, content development, and the establishment of support systems for students and educators alike. Finally, ensuring equitable access to technology in education demands ongoing political will and public advocacy. Public discourse and policymaking need to reflect an understanding of the importance of the digital divide issue and a commitment to resolving it. Lobbying efforts and public campaigns can raise awareness among stakeholders, including voters, legislators, and corporate leaders, highlighting the digital divide as a critical issue that affects not only current educational outcomes, but also the future economic and social health of the nation. The task of bridging the digital divide is not a simple or quick one. It is a complex challenge that spans infrastructure, education, and socioeconomic policies. Various strategic approaches and sustained efforts are necessary to achieve the goal of equitable technological integration in education. While the road ahead may be long, the pursuit of this goal is essential in preparing all students for a future in which digital literacy is key to personal and professional success. 9.3 The debate around school choice. The concept of school choice has become one of the central issues in the discourse surrounding educational reform in the United States. School choice refers to a series of programs aimed at giving families the ability to select schools for their children, as opposed to being restricted to schools in their residential zones. Proponents argue that these initiatives can spur competition among schools to provide higher quality education and afford parents and students more control over their educational paths. Critics, however, claim that school choice can lead to the privatization of education, widen the gap between affluent and disadvantaged students, and erode the public education system. One of the primary arguments in favor of school choice is the potential for increased accountability and quality in education. Advocates suggest that when schools compete for students, they are motivated to improve their programs, amenities, teaching quality, and outcomes. They posit that this competitive environment can serve as a catalyst for innovation within the education sector, leading to more specialized programs and customized learning experiences that address a variety of needs and learning styles. Another major aspect of the school choice debate focuses on the principle of educational equity. Supporters of school choice argue that low-income families often reside in areas with underperforming schools, and that school choice mechanisms like charter schools, vouchers, and educational savings accounts provide opportunities for these families to escape failing schools. These options purportedly allow students from less affluent backgrounds to access high-quality education that might otherwise be unreachable due to geographical and socioeconomic constraints. In contrast, opponents of school choice contend that these programs can exacerbate educational inequity. They argue that school choice initiatives may favor families that are already advantaged, whether through additional financial resources, information, or transportation means, thus leaving the most vulnerable students in underfunded public schools. The reduced enrollment can result in financial strain for these public institutions, which rely on per-pupil funding, ultimately resulting in diminished resources and quality of education. Furthermore, critics assert that school choice can inadvertently promote segregation. Some studies have indicated that school choice programs may lead to increased sorting of students based on race, socioeconomic status, and educational needs. This segregation can undermine the social and educational benefits of a diverse learning environment and perpetuate systemic inequities. The complex interplay between choice, demographic factors, and educational outcomes remains an area of significant concern for policymakers. Additionally, the role of for-profit entities in the school choice debate attracts significant attention and critique. Detractors express concern that allowing for-profit organizations to operate schools with public funds may lead to profit motives overshadowing educational goals. The fear is that this could result in cost-cutting measures that impair educational quality, such as hiring less qualified instructors, reducing support services, or limiting access to necessary educational materials and extracurricular activities. The efficacy of charter schools is a particularly contentious topic in the school choice discussion. Proponents cite various examples of charter schools that have demonstrated impressive academic achievements, particularly in underserved communities. These success stories are often used to justify the expansion of charter school systems. Nevertheless, critics point to research suggesting that charter schools do not consistently outperform traditional public schools and may divert resources and attention from systemic improvements needed in the broader public education system. Voucher programs, which allocate public funds to families to help pay for private school tuition, also occupy a central place in the school choice debate. Advocates argue that vouchers empower parents to seek the best educational environment for their children, regardless of their income level. However, detractors assert that vouchers drain funds from the public school system, potentially reducing the overall quality of education for those who remain in traditional public schools. Public opinion about school choice is divided and often shaped by political affiliations, with some viewing it as a catalyst for much-needed educational reforms, and others as a threat to the foundational ideals of a public education system designed to serve all students equally. The divergence in public sentiment influences legislative and policy-making processes, leading to a complex and often fragmented approach to addressing the challenges and opportunities inherent in the implementation of school choice programs. The integration of technology in education and how it intersects with school choice is another critical component of the debate. Online learning platforms and virtual schools are increasing in prevalence and present a unique dimension to school choice. These digital options promise to dismantle traditional geographical barriers and offer unprecedented access to a wide array of educational resources. Yet, there remains a digital divide in access to technology and the internet, with lower income and rural families facing significant challenges that could prevent them from benefiting from these technological advancements. Lastly, the future of learning and how it will be shaped by the school choice debate remains an area of particular uncertainty. Proponents envision a personalized and dynamic educational system capable of adapting to the needs of the 21st century learner, with school choice as a cornerstone to achieving this vision. Critics, however, are wary that without careful consideration and regulation, the expansion of school choice could lead to a stratified education system where the quality of education a child receives is increasingly dependent on their socioeconomic status, perpetuating and potentially exacerbating existing disparities. As societal norms and values continue to evolve, the debate around school choice promises to remain at the forefront of discussions on educational policy. The myriad dimensions of the debate, including issues of quality, equity, financial accountability, segregation, and the role of private enterprise, reflect the complexities of establishing an education system that serves both individual aspirations and the collective social good. The decisions made today regarding school choice will invariably have far-reaching consequences for the future of education in America. 9.4 College Access and the Debt Crisis. The challenge of college access in the United States intertwines closely with the burgeoning student debt crisis, a situation that has escalated into a prominent socioeconomic issue. Over the past few decades, the cost of college education has risen at an unprecedented rate, far outpacing the average inflation and burdensome for many families. It is not uncommon for Americans to characterize the access to higher education as a ladder to upward mobility. However, for an increasing portion of the population, this ladder is becoming slippery due to financial constraints. The complexity of this issue is evident across multiple strata of American society, affecting individual choices, family dynamics, and policy considerations. This section aims to explore the nuances of college access and the interconnected web of student debt. The rising cost of tuition at American colleges and universities has a multifaceted effect on who can attend college. Tuition fees have outstripped both inflation and family income growth, meaning that without significant savings or financial aid, many students are unable to afford the cost of higher education without recourse to borrowing. This cost barrier tends to affect lower-income families disproportionately, exacerbating pre-existing socioeconomic divides. While federal and state financial aid exists, the increasing demand and competition for such resources make them insufficient to cover the full extent of expenses, leading to an increase in both the number of students taking out loans and the average amount of debt per borrower. As student loan debt mounts, it becomes not merely a burden for individual graduates, but a broad-scale economic concern. With over $1.7 trillion in student loan debt, the repercussions extend to various aspects of the economy, including home ownership rates, small business formation, and consumer spending. Graduates saddled with significant debt often delay life milestones, such as purchasing homes, starting families, or investing in retirement. Moreover, the pressure to service this debt influences career choices, sometimes pushing graduates into higher-paying fields over those they are passionate about or that may be in high demand but less lucrative. The implications of large-scale student debt also raise questions about the societal value of higher education and whether the current system is sustainable or equitable. Critics argue that the high cost of college leads to a cycle of debt that counteracts the economic advantages a degree is supposed to confer. On the other hand, proponents of the current system argue that, despite the debt incurred, college graduates still, on average, enjoy higher lifetime earnings than non-graduates. However, this earnings premium does not account for the variability in outcomes across different fields of study, nor does it negate the financial and psychological stress placed on indebted graduates. The struggle to access college is not solely about affordability. The issue also encompasses the readiness of students to succeed in post-secondary education. Many students, especially those from underprivileged backgrounds, attend high schools that do not provide the necessary preparation for the rigors of college coursework. This lack of preparedness can result in a higher likelihood of dropping out, thereby wasting resources and leaving students with debt but no degree. Moreover, these students often lack access to robust college counseling during their secondary education, which is crucial for navigating the complex landscape of college applications and financial aid. Technology has become an increasingly significant factor in the conversation around college access and the debt crisis. Online education and the rise of massive open online courses, MOOCs, have the potential to open new pathways to learning that are more affordable and flexible than traditional college programs. These digital platforms can provide academic opportunities to those who might not have the means or circumstances to attend college in person, potentially democratizing access to higher education. However, there are valid concerns about the quality and credibility of online degrees, as well as the challenge of ensuring that online education does not simply become a lesser alternative to traditional college experiences. Amidst these difficulties, community colleges have emerged as a critical component of the higher education ecosystem. They offer a more affordable option for the first 2 years of a 4-year degree, and are pivotal in providing vocational and associate's degrees that can lead directly to job placement. Nonetheless, community colleges often struggle with funding and resources, which can affect the quality of education and support services available to students. Furthermore, the articulation between community colleges and 4-year institutions can sometimes be problematic, making the transfer process a potential obstacle for students wishing to pursue a bachelor's degree. Policy responses to the college access and student debt challenge have been varied and often contentious. Some advocate for increased state and federal funding for higher education, better financial aid packages, and more substantial support for low-income students. Others call for reforms in the lending process, such as implementing more favorable interest rates, more accessible loan forgiveness programs, or the introduction of income-based repayment plans that adapt to the financial realities of individual debt holders. There are also radical voices calling for complete loan forgiveness and the implementation of free college tuition, harking back to an era when public universities were far less expensive or even free. The debate over college access and debt also considers the role of private colleges, which often have much higher tuition rates than their public counterparts. These institutions argue that the higher costs provide for superior facilities, more distinguished faculty, and smaller class sizes, which contribute to a better education and improved outcomes. However, there is scrutiny over the extent to which these benefits justify the cost, and whether the less affluent are systematically excluded from these opportunities. The student debt crisis and college access issue must also be contextualized within broader societal inequalities. Racial, gender, and geographic disparities play significant roles in defining who has access to higher education and who bears the brunt of student debt. Students of color, particularly Black and Latino students, are more likely to take on debt and have more trouble repaying loans than their white counterparts. Furthermore, the gender pay gap ensures that women ultimately pay more for their student loans than men, due to taking longer to repay their debts on lower salaries. Amid calls for solutions and reforms to the college access and student debt crisis, the concept of the value of a college degree itself is undergoing reassessment. There is a growing dialogue about the purpose of higher education, whether it should be primarily a pathway to employment or whether its function is also to foster critical thinking and civic engagement. There is a push for alternative credentials, such as certificates and badges that recognize specific skills and competencies, suggesting a more modular and competency-based approach to post-secondary education. In this ongoing discussion on college access and the debt crisis, it is imperative to keep in mind the larger goals of higher education in a democratic society. Education should serve as an engine for personal betterment and the public good, and the current dilemmas may necessitate concerted and innovative efforts to ensure that college remains accessible and valuable for future generations. The sustainability of the higher education system in America will likely depend on a comprehensive strategy that addresses affordability, access, preparedness, and relevance of the programs offered. As policymakers, educators, students, and families contemplate the future of higher education, the consensus is that change is necessary. The complexities of this change, however, involve balancing a multitude of concerns that range from safeguarding the quality and reputation of the educational institutions to ensuring that fairness and equity are at the forefront of any reforms. The debate over college access and the debt crisis is not just about numbers and economics. It is about the fabric of society and the opportunities provided to each citizen to succeed and contribute meaningfully to their community. As such, any changes to the system carry significant weight and must be approached with a diligence that reflects their importance to individual futures and the nation as a whole. 9.5 Inclusive Education: Challenges and Opportunities. Inclusive education is founded upon the premise that all students, regardless of their personal condition or socioeconomic status, deserve equal access to education and the opportunities it provides. This concept necessitates the transformation of educational systems to accommodate diverse learning methods and needs. It stands in contrast to traditional models that might unintentionally marginalize or exclude students with disabilities from different cultural backgrounds or those facing economic constraints. Implementation of inclusive education requires institutional commitment, resources for specialized support, and ongoing teacher training to adapt pedagogical strategies. The push for inclusivity in schools is not without its challenges. One of the primary obstacles is the resistance to change. This resistance may arise from educators, administrators, or even parents who are accustomed to the conventional education system. Moreover, there's often a significant cost associated with providing the necessary resources for inclusion, such as hiring specialized staff or investing in adaptive technologies. This financial barrier can be particularly high for schools in economically disadvantaged areas. Additionally, there's the hurdle of bias and stereotypes that may unintentionally permeate the school environment, influencing student interactions and expectations. Frameworks for inclusive education are complex and must take into account a multitude of factors to be effective. They are multi-layered, involving policy formulation at the highest level, training of educators in inclusive techniques, development of inclusive curricula, and ensuring the physical accessibility of school environments. Equal weight must be given to fostering an inclusive school culture that promotes the values of respect, diversity, and individual dignity. Each component is vital to create a holistic environment that not only provides access, but also engenders a sense of belonging among all students. Training educators to approach teaching with inclusivity in mind is a pivotal element. They must possess a skill set that allows them to recognize and accommodate various learning styles, understand the specific needs of students with disabilities, and be adept in culturally responsive teaching. An inclusive educator also needs to be prepared to handle behavioral issues effectively and compassionately, ensuring that discipline policies do not disproportionately affect any group of students. Continuous professional development is key, coupled with a supportive network that encourages the sharing of successful strategies and collaborative problem-solving. Beyond the classroom, inclusive education has broader implications for society. It teaches tolerance and acceptance, preparing all students to enter a diverse and globalized workforce. Inclusive practices build communities wherein students learn from one another's experiences and perspectives, enriching their understanding and empathy. The challenge here lies in translating these practices into measurable outcomes that contribute positively to community cohesion and economic equality. Close partnerships with local communities and stakeholders are essential to expand the impact of inclusive education beyond the school walls. The advent of technology presents both opportunities and new challenges for inclusive education. While it can be a great equalizer, providing adaptive learning tools and resources that can tailor education to the individual learner's needs, it can also widen the gap if not all students have equal access. Digital literacy and access to technology have become integral parts of modern education, yet not all families can afford the necessary devices or reliable internet connections. Schools have the task of bridging this digital divide to ensure that technology supports, rather than hinders, the goal of inclusivity. Assessment is another vital area that needs to be considered within the context of inclusivity. Traditional assessment methods may not adequately capture the progress of all students, particularly those with disabilities or those for whom English is not their first language. Schools must develop assessment practices that are fair, valid, and reflective of each student's learning journey. Such practices should inform instruction and provide feedback that helps students advance, not demoralize those who are already struggling. The legal landscape regarding inclusive education is also evolving. Legislation such as the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, in the United States, has made significant strides in ensuring the rights of students with disabilities to receive a free, appropriate public education. Compliance with these laws requires schools to be proactive in identifying students who need support and developing individualized education plans to meet those needs. Still, legal mandates alone are not sufficient. There must be an underlying ethos that values all students and seeks to lift each individual's educational experience. Despite the challenges, there are numerous success stories of inclusive education. These stories often highlight the incredible achievements of students who, given the right support and opportunities, excel far beyond what was previously thought possible. They also tell of educators who go above and beyond to reach every student, developing innovative approaches to teaching that benefit all learners. Such narratives propel the movement for inclusivity forward, demonstrating its vast potential to transform lives and educational systems. Inclusive education is not merely about accommodating students with disabilities. It is about reimagining the educational landscape so that every student feels valued and has the chance to succeed. It's a quest to recognize the unique potential within each child and to provide the tools and environment necessary to unlock that potential. The continued pursuit of inclusivity within education has the potential not just to reform our schools, but to build a more equitable and cohesive society. The realization of truly inclusive education is an ongoing journey. As societies evolve and diversities expand, the concept of what it means to be inclusive must also adapt. Looking ahead, educational institutions will need to be agile, able to respond to emerging challenges and seize new opportunities. Through collaboration, commitment, and a relentless focus on the individual learner, the goal of an education system that serves all students equitably becomes possible. The work to create such a system is demanding and complex, but the rewards, a society in which every individual has the opportunity to learn and to contribute to the fullest extent of their capabilities, are immeasurable. 9.6 Educational Policy, Shaping the Future. The domain of educational policy is a complex one, reflecting broad societal issues and individual community needs. Educational policies have a profound and long-lasting impact on students, educators, and the nation as a whole. They are framed by legislative bodies, school boards, and regulatory agencies, with input from various stakeholders including parents, teachers, administrators, and students themselves. The policy decisions that are made can determine the accessibility of quality education across diverse populations, the preparedness of the future workforce, and the overall health of the democracy. Crafting successful educational policies requires a balanced approach, incorporating data-driven strategies, equity-focused standards, and innovative solutions to address the ever-evolving challenges of education. A significant challenge facing the educational policy arena today is balancing the imperative of high educational standards with the diverse needs of students. While standards are essential for ensuring that all students receive a quality education, not all students benefit from a one-size-fits-all approach. The development of inclusive policies that reflect the diversity of student experiences is crucial. For instance, considerations must be made for students with disabilities, those who are not native English speakers, and learners who come from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. Policies must therefore be adaptive and sensitive to the variations in educational needs, which can often be achieved through differentiated instruction and the provision of resources such as tutoring, language assistance, and socio-emotional support. An equally significant educational policy concern is the equitable distribution of public funding. Discrepancies in funding lead to disparities in the quality of educational environments, resources, and educational outcomes. In areas where schools are underfunded, students may face overcrowded classrooms, outdated textbooks, and a lack of access to technology. These issues can contribute to a gap in academic achievement between students from affluent communities and those from less privileged backgrounds. Therefore, it is essential to create policies that ensure more equitable funding formulas that can provide additional support where it is needed most, without diminishing the resources available to other communities. Technology integration in education is another critical area for policy development. As digital literacy becomes increasingly important for success in the workforce, schools are under pressure to integrate technology effectively into their curricula. However, this presents challenges in terms of access and training. Ensuring all students have access to computers and high-speed internet is a necessary step to close the digital divide and prevent furthering the gap in educational attainment between students from different socioeconomic backgrounds. On the other hand, policies are needed to ensure that teachers receive the proper training and support to integrate technology into their teaching effectively, which extends beyond mere access to hardware and software. Privacy and data protection in educational settings have emerged as vital policy topics with the rise of technology use in schools. Students' information is increasingly digitized, necessitating strict policies to safeguard against unauthorized access and misuse of data. Furthermore, educational technologies often collect large amounts of data on student performance and behavior, leading to concerns about student privacy and the potential impact of continuous monitoring on student well-being. Educational policies must therefore carefully regulate the collection, storage, and use of student data, balancing the benefits of data analytics in improving educational practices with the rights and privacy of individual students. Standardized testing continues to spark debate as policymakers grapple with issues of accountability, assessment, and equity. While standardized tests can serve as valuable tools for assessing educational outcomes and identifying areas in need of improvement, there is a growing concern that an overemphasis on these tests can narrow the curriculum and stifle creativity and critical thinking in students. Consequently, there is a movement towards broader measures of student success, which assess not just academic achievements, but also social-emotional development and other competencies. Policies surrounding standardized testing must therefore consider the broader impact of these assessments on teaching and learning. Another important educational policy topic is teacher preparation and professional development. In order for students to succeed, educators must be equipped with the skills and knowledge to effectively teach and engage their students. This requires a commitment to rigorous teacher training programs and ongoing professional development opportunities. Policies must address both the initial preparation of new teachers, including student teaching experiences and mastery of content knowledge, and the continual professional growth of experienced teachers, such as access to the latest pedagogical research, collaboration with peers, and classroom resources. An investment in the teaching profession is ultimately an investment in the future of students. Charter schools and vouchers have also become focal points in discussions about educational policy. These alternatives to traditional public schools are seen by some as avenues for innovation and increased choice for parents. Others, however, raise concerns about the potential for charter schools and voucher programs to divert public funds from traditional public schools, exacerbating inequality and reducing educational opportunity for students who remain in the public system. Careful policy consideration is needed to evaluate the impact of these school options on the broader educational landscape and ensure that all students have the opportunity to attend high-quality schools. The role of standardized curriculum versus local control is another contentious area in educational policy. National or state-level standards can help ensure consistency and set high expectations for all students. However, they can limit the flexibility of local schools to tailor their curricula to the needs of their specific student populations. Policies must strike a balance between setting high national or state standards and providing local schools with the autonomy to adapt their educational approaches to suit their community's needs. In recent years, there has been a surge of interest in STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, along with the arts, often referred to as STEAM. Policymakers understand that preparing students for jobs in these fields is critical to the nation's economic future. Yet, there remains a challenge in expanding and diversifying the STEM pipeline. Policies must support high-quality teacher training in these subjects, provide resources for schools to offer advanced coursework, and create partnerships with higher education and industry to foster interest and expertise in these areas. It is equally important for policies to address the underrepresentation of minority and female students in STEM fields, ensuring that all students have opportunities to excel. Lastly, the mental health and well-being of students cannot be overlooked in educational policy. The rising incidence of stress, anxiety, and other mental health issues among students is alarming. Policies should support the integration of mental health education in the curriculum, the availability of school counselors, and the creation of supportive school environments. Providing resources for mental health not only supports students' well-being, but also contributes to a conducive learning environment and improved academic outcomes. As educational policy continues to shape the future of learning, it is essential to adopt an inclusive, forward-thinking approach that considers the well-being and success of all students. The policies developed in the present will resonate through the educational experiences of generations to come, hence requiring a thorough and compassionate approach that is as dynamic as the society we live in. Ensuring equitable and accessible education for every child is not only a matter of academic development, but is also intrinsic to the ideals of democracy and social justice. 9.7 Learning from Global Educational Models. The education systems across the globe exhibit a vast array of methodologies, philosophies, and outcomes that speak volumes on societal values and priorities. As a nation facing significant domestic challenges within its own educational framework, the United States can glean valuable insights from international educational models that have effectively addressed similar issues. Examining global approaches is critical for the U.S. to continue evolving its educational strategies and to mitigate the educational divide that has become a pressing social issue. One enlightening model is that of Finland, often admired for its consistently high performance on international assessments such as the Program for International Student Assessment, PISA. Finnish education is rooted in the concept of equity, a principle reflected in uniform educational standards across the country. This is akin to the internal motivation to level the playing field in the United States. However, where the U.S. system grapples with disparities in funding and resources, Finland demonstrates a commitment to equal opportunities for all, whereby each student receives high-quality education regardless of their socioeconomic background. Learning from the Finnish experience implies valuing teacher training, reducing the emphasis on standardized testing, and ensuring that all schools are funded adequately. In contrast, nations like South Korea underscore the importance of educational rigor and a strong work ethic. Spectacular results on international comparison metrics can be contributed to long study hours and a culture that reveres academic success. While this paradigm has yielded fruit in terms of high academic achievement, it also highlights the implications of undue stress and pressure on students. The U.S. educational discourse can borrow from South Korea's dedication to mastery and learning, but must seek to balance this with student well-being and methods that inspire intrinsic motivation rather than purely extrinsic achievement metrics. Singapore offers another laudable example, particularly in the integration of technology and innovation in the curriculum. A leader in the global educational sphere, Singapore's investment in teacher development and focus on 21st-century competencies provides a framework for the U.S. to consider how technology can be leveraged to bridge rather than widen the educational divide. Integrating technology effectively requires not only infrastructure, but also teacher training, curriculum adjustment, and careful consideration of socioeconomic equity to avoid creating further gulfs. Drawing inspiration from Canada, the United States can reflect on how to approach multiculturalism and bilingual education. Canada's approach to diversity in education emphasizes inclusion and embraces linguistic duality, recognizing the benefits of bilingualism for cognitive development and as a valuable skill in a globalized world. This has significant relevance for the U.S., particularly in states with large bilingual populations, where language should be seen not as a barrier, but as an asset to the academic and social environment. Then there's the German model, noteworthy for its dual education system that combines theoretical instruction with hands-on vocational training. By creating multiple pathways to success, Germany has managed to lower youth unemployment and prepare students effectively for the workforce. The practical emphasis and collaboration with industries could inform U.S. policies to align education more closely with future job markets and keep it relevant and engaging for students who may not be inclined toward traditional academic routes. Another valuable paradigm comes from the Netherlands, where school choice is structured to prevent segregation and inequality. Unlike in the United States, where school choice can exacerbate educational inequities, the Dutch system offers a variety of specialized schools that are equitably resourced and accessible to all, promoting diversity within each educational institution. The U.S. could use this model to understand how to maintain an element of choice without sacrificing the imperative for equity. Turning to countries like Brazil, with its own history of inequality, the U.S. could learn from their recent initiatives in expanding access to education for marginalized groups. Such initiatives include affirmative actions and extensive financial support for lower-income students. A thorough understanding of these measures can offer strategies to address educational disparities within U.S. minority populations, providing students from all backgrounds with greater opportunities for upward mobility. The Scandinavian model, broader than Finland alone, enforces the concept of the whole-child approach, where education goes beyond academic knowledge. It encompasses social and emotional learning, critical thinking, and creativity. With an increase in mental health concerns among the U.S. student population, adopting such holistic educational practices may be instrumental in developing well-rounded individuals prepared not just for the job market but also for the complexities of adult life. Australia's focus on remote and rural education also offers an instructive case study for the U.S. As technology becomes increasingly integral to educational delivery, learning to provide quality distance learning in rural settings has become essential. Australia's experience in overcoming geographical barriers to deliver consistent education in remote areas can guide the U.S. in enhancing educational access for all, blending technology and localized teaching strategies to meet diverse needs. Lastly, the educational policies in Nordic countries, with their liberal approach to childhood play and its role in learning, could provide a contrasting perspective to the often structured and rigorous U.S. academic environment. These countries prioritize free play as a primary mode of learning in the early years, which is linked to physical, cognitive, and emotional benefits. Recognizing the value of such alternative education philosophies could inspire changes within the American system to support a broader definition of what constitutes effective teaching and learning in the early developmental stages of children. In summary, learning from global educational models does not mean indiscriminately copying foreign systems. Rather, it involves a thoughtful analysis of other countries' successes and struggles, followed by a curated integration of the most applicable elements into the U.S. educational tapestry. It calls for acknowledging the unique social, economic, and cultural contexts within the United States, while striving to implement best practices from around the world to foster an equitable, innovative, and future-focused education system. 9.8 Revolutionizing Pedagogy with Technology. The integration of technology into educational settings has radically transformed traditional pedagogical methods. Long-established teaching strategies are being re-evaluated in the face of innovations that offer new ways to engage students, personalize learning experiences, and expand educational resources beyond the confines of the classroom. While technology has the potential to democratize education, providing opportunities for students regardless of their geographic or socioeconomic status, it also poses challenges that must be navigated to ensure equitable access and effective implementation. The revolutionizing of pedagogy with technology is thus a nuanced shift with profound implications for both current educational practices and the future of learning. Educational institutions are now embracing a variety of digital tools to enhance teaching and learning. From elementary schools to universities, classrooms are being equipped with smartboards, computer labs, and mobile devices. These tools are employed to support a more interactive and flexible learning environment. Teachers can now present complex concepts using interactive simulations or virtual reality, making abstract ideas more tangible. Students can engage with subject matter through educational software that adapts to their individual learning pace, making education more personalized than ever before. However, the effective integration of technology into teaching requires skilled educators who can navigate this new landscape. Teachers need comprehensive professional development to adapt their instructional methods to the digital age. This means not only learning how to use new technologies, but understanding how to effectively incorporate them into the curriculum to enhance learning outcomes. Educators are key to ensuring that technology acts as a bridge rather than a barrier to learning. Professional development programs must be rigorous, ongoing, and responsive to the rapid pace of technological change. The digital divide presents a significant challenge to the use of technology in education. Not all students have equal access to the necessary devices and high-speed internet required for modern learning, especially in underprivileged and rural areas. In order to use technology to its fullest potential in leveling the educational playing field, concerted efforts must be made to provide all students with the resources they need. This includes investing in infrastructure, subsidizing technology for low-income families, and providing community access points for those without home internet. Assessment practices have also been influenced by technology. Traditional assessments, such as multiple-choice tests, are being supplemented with digital portfolios and performance-based assessments delivered via technology. This allows educators to assess a broader range of skills and competencies, including collaboration, problem-solving, and digital literacy. Assessments can be more dynamic and can provide immediate feedback, helping students to learn from their mistakes and adjust their strategies in real time. Data analytics and learning management systems have given educators unprecedented insights into student learning. Teachers can track student progress through dashboards that aggregate performance data across a range of activities. This can highlight where students are excelling or struggling, allowing for targeted interventions. Importantly, this data can also be used to inform instructional design, ensuring that curriculum and teaching strategies are responsive to the needs and abilities of students. Technological advancements are not limited to hardware and software within schools, but also expand into the realm of online learning. The rise of massive open online courses, MOOCs, webinars, and other online platforms has made high-quality education accessible to anyone with an internet connection. This mode of learning caters to a diversity of learners, including those who are employed full-time, individuals with disabilities, and those living in remote locations. Online education extends the classroom beyond physical borders and traditional schedules, allowing for a more inclusive and accessible form of education. Collaborative technologies have altered the very nature of classroom interactions and group work. With platforms like Google Classroom, Slack, and collaboration features in Office 365, students can work together in real time, irrespective of where they are physically located. This not only supports the development of digital communication skills, but also exposes students to a form of teamwork that is increasingly common in the modern workplace. It prepares them for a world where remote work and digital collaboration are the norm, aligning educational practices with future workforce expectations. One significant impact of technology is its effect on student engagement. Interactive games, simulations, and multimedia presentations can turn passive learning into an active experience. Technology can cater to different learning styles through a variety of media, catering to those who learn best visually, audibly, or kinesthetically. It can make learning more relevant and engaging by connecting classroom topics to real-world situations. For instance, students can use coding software to program their own games, thereby applying mathematical concepts in a way that is tangible and enjoyable. Adaptive learning technologies, powered by artificial intelligence, are at the forefront of personalizing education. By analyzing student responses and learning patterns, adaptive platforms are able to adjust the difficulty of tasks, suggest resources, and provide customized learning paths for individual students. This kind of technology allows for differentiation in a way that is difficult to achieve in a traditional classroom setting, where a single teacher is responsible for the education of many students with varying needs and abilities. The introduction of technology in education raises important questions about the role of the teacher. The role of educators is evolving from providers of knowledge to facilitators of learning. They are now expected to guide students in navigating vast amounts of information, fostering critical thinking, and developing the skills needed to continually learn and adapt. This requires a shift in pedagogy to focus more on skills such as analysis, creativity, and problem-solving, skills that are necessary for success in a rapidly changing world. While the promise of technology in education is significant, it also necessitates careful planning to avoid potential pitfalls. There is a risk that an over-reliance on technology could lead to diminished interpersonal skills and a lack of deep, reflective learning. Finding the appropriate balance between technology use and traditional face-to-face interactions is key. Pedagogical models need to integrate digital tools in a way that complements, rather than replaces, direct engagement with educators and peers. Educational technology raises issues of privacy and data security as well. As schools collect more student data, concerns grow about how that information is used and protected. Students and parents need assurances that personal and academic information is handled responsibly. Educational institutions must have clear policies and robust systems in place to safeguard against breaches of sensitive data and misuse of information. Transparency about data collection and use is crucial for maintaining trust and ensuring ethical practices in educational technology use. The integration of technology into education also impacts the design and layout of learning spaces. Classrooms and libraries are increasingly designed with technology in mind, featuring flexible seating arrangements, charging stations for devices, and areas for both quiet study and collaborative work. The setup of these spaces can encourage different forms of learning and interaction that are optimized for a digital age. This transition is leading to a reconsideration of how physical educational environments can best support the integration of technology in learning. Looking forward, the emergence of new technologies will continue to challenge and change education systems. Advances in virtual and augmented reality, for example, have the potential to create immersive learning experiences that can revolutionize the way students interact with subjects ranging from history to the sciences. Wearable technologies and the Internet of Things offer possibilities for making learning more context-aware and connected to the physical world. It is critical that educators and policymakers stay informed about these developments and consider their implications for teaching and learning. Realizing the full potential of technology in education will require a concerted effort on multiple fronts. It involves not only investing in the hardware and software but also in the people, teachers, administrators, and students who will use it. It demands a re-examination of curricula, teaching strategies, and assessment methods. It calls for the development of new norms around how learning is conducted and where and when it takes place. Above all, it underscored the need for a commitment to equity and accessibility, ensuring that the benefits of educational technology are shared by all. The rapid pace of technological change presents both challenges and opportunities for educators. As they work to revolutionize pedagogy with technology, they must maintain a focus on the fundamental goal of education: to foster the growth of well-rounded, critical thinking individuals equipped to thrive in a complex, technology-rich world. By harnessing the power of technology thoughtfully and strategically, educators can help to create a future where learning is more engaging, inclusive, and effective for every student. 9.9 Parental and Community Involvement in Schools. Parental and community involvement in schools has become an increasingly recognized factor in the education and success of students. Historically, the involvement of parents and the community in the educational process was seen as supplementary. However, a growing body of research points to its vital contribution to effective schooling and student performance. It is argued that students whose parents and local community are actively engaged in their education tend to have better school attendance, higher graduation rates, and improved academic outcomes. The relationship between schools and the community they serve has evolved over the years. Traditionally, schools were considered the sole domain for formal education, with parents playing a supportive but largely hands-off role. This perspective has shifted towards a more collaborative approach, where educational professionals and families work together to support children's learning. In this dynamic, parents become co-educators, not merely supporters, by actively participating in their children's education through activities such as homework assistance, attendance at teacher conferences, and involvement in school decision-making processes. Community involvement in schools is equally crucial and often manifests through partnerships with local businesses, non-profit organizations, and community groups. These partnerships can provide schools with additional resources, expertise, and support that might otherwise be unavailable. By engaging local stakeholders, schools can foster a sense of collective responsibility for the educational outcomes of children, which in turn stimulates a learning-friendly environment that extends beyond the confines of the school premises. Within the classroom, parental involvement can translate into various practices, such as volunteering for classroom activities or school events. Schools may facilitate this by creating volunteer programs that accommodate parents' schedules and interests. Such inclusive strategies enable parents to contribute in ways that align with their abilities and resources, which can boost their engagement and investment in the school community. However, efforts to promote parental and community involvement in schools do not come without challenges. One significant barrier is socioeconomic status. Families with lower income levels may have less flexibility in their work schedules, limited transportation options, or other constraints that impede their ability to participate in school events. Schools aiming for equitable parental involvement must consider these disparities and strive to create opportunities that are accessible to all families regardless of their economic status. Schools also encounter cultural and language barriers that can restrict parent involvement. In multicultural communities, schools must ensure that language services are available for non-English speaking families and that cultural practices are recognized and respected. Schools can bridge these gaps by hiring staff from diverse backgrounds, offering translated materials, and hosting community cultural events that celebrate diversity and cultivate inclusive environments. Moreover, parental engagement strategies should be comprehensive and well-planned. Schools should not merely expect parents to show up, but must actively reach out and demonstrate their commitment to partnership. This may involve regular communication through various channels, parent workshops on navigating the educational system, and forums where parents can voice their concerns and suggestions. Effective communication helps build trust, which is fundamental for collaborative relationships between parents, teachers, and administrators. The digital divide in education has also impacted the ways in which parents and communities can be involved in schools. While technology has the potential to enhance communication and learning opportunities, disparities in access to technology can exacerbate educational inequities. Schools must consider these disparities and work towards ensuring all families have access to the necessary digital tools and understanding required for meaningful engagement. Technology, when accessible, can foster greater participation through virtual parent-teacher conferences, online school portals for tracking student progress, and the use of social media platforms for school announcements and community-building activities. These tools can create more flexible and timely ways for parents to engage with teachers and school staff, making it easier to support their children's education. Advocacy by parents and the community is another crucial aspect of involvement in schools. Parents and community members often have a strong voice in advocating for better resources, policies, and programs for schools. Organized efforts such as parent-teacher associations, PTAs, school boards, and community advocacy groups can exert a significant influence on local educational policies and resource allocation. Despite the importance of parental and community involvement, it is crucial to recognize that schools are professional institutions with trained educators. While input and participation from parents and the community are valuable, decisions regarding curriculum, pedagogy, and school management should remain primarily in the hands of professionals. The challenge lies in achieving a healthy balance where the expertise of educational professionals is complemented by the supportive role of parents and the community. The future of learning in the United States may well hinge on how successfully schools can engage with and integrate parents and communities into the educational process. As the educational landscape continues to evolve with technological advancements and societal changes, the concept of a school as an isolated entity is becoming outdated. Schools that embrace a holistic approach to education by actively working to involve all stakeholders will likely have a more significant impact on student success. Finally, it is essential to understand that parental and community involvement in schools is not a panacea for all educational challenges. However, it stands as a vital component in a multifaceted strategy aimed at increasing equity, improving academic outcomes, and preparing students for the future. Empirical evidence has shown that schools that effectively engage parents and the community in constructive and culturally sensitive ways often outperform those that do not. As such, parental and community involvement in schools should be fostered and prioritized as a central element in the broader endeavor to enhance education for all students. 9.10 Preparing the Next Generation for an Uncertain Future. The task of preparing the next generation of students for the future is an ever-evolving challenge that educational systems across the United States face. As technologies advance and economies shift, the skills and knowledge that young people need to acquire become moving targets. It's not just about imparting information, it's about equipping students with the capacity to learn continuously, adapt, innovate, and navigate a landscape fraught with uncertainty. This preparation goes beyond traditional academic content. It necessitates fostering critical thinking, promoting digital literacy, and encouraging adaptability. Effective educators understand that the future workplace requires individuals who can problem solve, think creatively, and work collaboratively. Therefore, schools are increasingly incorporating project-based learning that mirrors real-world scenarios and challenges, thereby fostering soft skills that robots and algorithms cannot easily replicate. However, preparing students for this uncertain future is not simply a matter of pedagogic philosophies or curricula adjustments. It involves a comprehensive look at equitable access to resources. Not all schools possess the technological tools, nor do all students have equal out-of-school access to the internet and learning devices. This discrepancy results in a widening gap where disadvantaged students are at risk of falling behind their peers in acquiring critical, 21st-century skills. In confronting these inequities, many educational institutions have sought out partnerships with technology firms and community organizations. These alliances are aiming to provide access to digital devices, reliable internet service, and software solutions to underfunded schools. While such initiatives are praiseworthy, they underline the persistent need for systemic changes to the way educational resources are allocated and underscore the importance of continuous funding and support. Educational policies are similarly integral to shaping how well the system functions in preparing students for the future. At the heart of policy reform is the push for individualized learning plans that cater to each student's unique needs, talents, and learning pace. Educationalists are advocating for data-driven approaches to tailor learning experiences that not only harness students' strengths, but also address their weaknesses in a constructive manner. Another facet of preparing students for an uncertain future lies in the domain of career and technical education, CTE. CTE programs offer a blend of academic instruction and practical skills development relevant to various industries. While such programs have sometimes been relegated to the background in educational narratives that favor four-year college degrees, there is renewing recognition of the value of CTE in equipping students with marketable skills immediately upon graduation. The emphasis on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subjects is often highlighted as a key strategy in preparing students for the future. However, while there's significant merit to this push, it is equally crucial to integrate the arts and humanities. These disciplines foster a sense of empathy, ethics, and a broader understanding of the human experience, which are crucial complements to the analytical skills STEM imparts. Global awareness and language acquisition emerge as further critical competencies for students facing a future in an increasingly interconnected world. Fluency in multiple languages and an appreciation for cultural nuances are becoming prerequisites not only for personal enrichment but also for professional competitiveness. Schools that integrate foreign language programs and cultural exchange opportunities are directly contributing to the cultivation of global citizens capable of engaging effectively in a diverse workplace. The role of teachers in this evolving educational landscape cannot be overstated. Professional development for educators is a cornerstone in ensuring that the facilitators of learning are at pace with emerging pedagogies and technologies. Yet support for teacher training is often inconsistent, with some districts offering robust, ongoing opportunities, while others struggle to provide even the basics. Addressing this imbalance is a priority that would have ripple effects on educational quality and equity. At the intersection of all of these initiatives is the ongoing concern for the holistic well-being of students. The uncertain future is not just a professional challenge, it's a personal one as well. Educational systems are thereby looking into well-rounded approaches that incorporate mental health resources, counseling, and support groups. These programs aim to build resilience and help students manage stress, which in turn equips them to better tackle the unpredictable twists their professional journeys might take. Finally, the role of assessment in preparing students for the future is under scrutiny. Traditional standardized tests are being questioned for their relevance as sole indicators of a student's preparedness. Alternate forms of assessment, which can capture a more nuanced picture of a student's abilities, are being explored. Performance-based assessments, portfolios, and peer reviews are just some of the methods being tested to provide a more comprehensive and fair measurement of student achievement and readiness. In looking towards preparing the next generation for an uncertain future, it becomes evident that this is a multifaceted endeavor that cannot be tackled by educators alone. It's a collaborative effort that requires the input and support of policymakers, community leaders, industry professionals, and, importantly, the students themselves. Only by engaging all stakeholders in an open and ongoing dialogue can educational systems evolve to meet the ever-changing demands of the future. The resilience and adaptability that we instill in students today will shape their ability to thrive in the uncertain tomorrow.